You can have advanced English and still walk into the C1 advanced speaking test and not give the kind of answers that Cambridge is asking for. It sounds ridiculous, and honestly, sometimes it is, because Cambridge C1 advanced is not just a test of your English, but it's also a test of whether you understand the exam. You might be able to have long conversations in English. You might lead meetings in English at work. You might travel and negotiate in English. You might even sound almost native-like in normal life. And still, in the exam room, your answer might not be doing the job. And this is the part that most candidates don't realize, because good English and good Cambridge exam performance are not always the same thing. Is that annoying? Yes. Useful to know? Absolutely. Especially if you need the certificate on paper for a promotion, an international role, a visa, even though you already speak English perfectly well every day. Most candidates think if my English is advanced, I should pass C1. And I understand why. It seems logical. If you speak well, you should do well in the speaking test. If you read well, you should do well in the reading paper. If you know grammar, you should do well in use of English. But then Cambridge says, lovely. Now read 4 long texts, answer a bunch of questions in under an hour, avoid distractors, understand paraphrase, and please don't panic. Or, here's a use of English question. You either know this very specific phrase or goodbye. Or in speaking, here are 3 photos. Choose 2. Speak for 1 minute. Don't just describe them. Compare them. Speculate. Answer the questions. Organize your ideas. And sound natural. And then part 3 arrives and says, now have a structured conversation with a stranger. React to them. Build on their points. Manage the timing. And make a decision together. Very normal. Very chill. Not at all strange. So here's the truth. To pass Cambridge C1 Advanced, you don't just need English, but you need to learn how to play the Cambridge game. And I don't mean cheat. I don't mean memorize fake answers, but I mean understand what the exam is really asking you to do. Because if you don't know the rules of the game, then you can be a strong English speaker and still lose marks in the places that you didn't even know mattered. And this is why some advanced candidates, they feel confused by this exam. They think, but I can speak English. Yes, but can you compare photos under time pressure? Can you develop a part 4 answer without rambling? Can you interact naturally with a partner in part 3? And can you show range of grammar and vocabulary without losing control? That's different. So in this video, I'm going to show you why fluent or advanced English isn't always enough for the C1 speaking test. And we'll look at 3 traps. Trap 1 is that you speak naturally, but you don't answer the exam task. Trap 2 is you speak a lot, but your answer has no structure. And trap 3 is you treat speaking part 3 like a normal conversation when Cambridge wants interaction. And by the end, you'll know what to change in your speaking practice. Hi, I'm Izzy from English with Izzy, and I've helped over 4,000 candidates prepare for Cambridge exams. More than 100,000 learners have downloaded my resources, and now I'm here to help you pass C1 Advanced with a clear plan. Let's begin. Trap number 1 is you speak naturally, but you don't answer the exam task. This is especially common in speaking part 2, because in part 2, the examiner gives you 3 photos, you choose 2, and you speak for 1 minute. But here's the key. Part 2 is not a photo description task, it's a comparison task. The examiner isn't thinking, can this candidate tell me there is a woman in the photo? They can see the woman, they can see the desk, they can see the people smiling awkwardly in the photo. So your job isn't to describe everything. Your job is to compare, speculate, and answer the questions. Now, let's say the photos show one person working alone at a desk and a team collaborating around a table. A weak answer could sound like this. First photo, I can see a woman. She's sitting at a desk. She has a laptop. Maybe she's working. In the second photo, I can see some people. They are all in an office. They are talking. They look happy. Is the English understandable? Yes. But would this get a high C1 mark? Probably not. Because it's mostly description. It doesn't show much comparison. It doesn't develop the ideas. And it doesn't really answer the deeper question. But a stronger part 2 answer sounds like this. Both photos show people working, but the first situation seems much more independent, whereas the second is clearly more collaborative. The person working alone might be dealing with something detailed, so they probably need quiet and concentration. By contrast, the team in the second photo may be sharing ideas, which could make the work much more creative, but also harder to keep on track. That's much stronger, not because the English is impossible, not because I use strange words, but because I played the Cambridge game. I compared immediately. I speculated, might. I developed the ideas and I answered the task. And this is exactly the kind of answer my candidates practice every single week in their live speaking training sessions with Mark, who was a real Cambridge speaking examiner. So they're learning from the person who actually does the marking, whether their answer is comparing or just describing. Every week, they're not waiting until they feel confident enough to start. And this is what candidates need to understand. C1 speaking is not about throwing English at the examiner and hoping some of it sticks, but it's about knowing what each part wants, because more speaking isn't always the answer. Better speaking practice is. Trap number 2 is that you speak a lot, but your answer has no structure. And this is the one that catches advanced candidates, because if you're comfortable speaking English, you may think, great, I'll just talk. And yes, please do talk. It is a speaking exam. We're not aiming for mysterious silence, but speaking a lot is not the same as giving a good answer. Fluency without structure can become rambling, and rambling is not a high C1 answer. Have a look at the speaking part 4 question. The examiner could ask, do you think technology has made people's lives easier? A fluent but unstructured answer might sound like this. Yes, definitely. I mean, technology is everywhere now and people use it all the time, and it helps with work and communication and travel and education. But also, it can be stressful because people are always on their phones and social media is a problem, especially for young people. But it also depends because some people use it well. Is the candidate speaking? Yes. Is their English? Yes. Would this get a high C1 mark? Not necessarily, because the ideas are everywhere. It's like the candidate opened 10 tabs in their brain and then the browser crashed. They use words like technology, work, travel, education, phones, social media, young people. Depends. Where is the main point? Where is the development? Where is the ending? The examiner should not be trying to find your opinion, but here's a stronger part 4 answer. You could say, yes, in many ways, technology has made life easier, especially when it comes to communication and access to information. For example, people can now work remotely, study online, and stay in touch with family abroad. That said, it has also created pressure to be constantly available. So I would say it's helpful, but only if people set clear limits. Now that answer is stronger because it has shape, it has point, example, and balance. And that's what Cambridge can reward. And notice, the answer was not robotic, it's not memorized. It still sounds natural, but it has structure. And that's the sweet spot. Natural English with an exam shape. And that's what we want. So use the structure for speaking part 4. You want to make your point, give a reason, example, balance, so talk about 2 sides of the argument. For example, yes, I think this is mainly because, for example, that said, on the other hand, and then a conclusion. So overall, and you don't need to use all of these phrases every time, but you do need to train your brain to organize answers quickly. And that's exactly what the weekly sessions with the Cambridge Speaking Examiner are for. My students don't just learn the structure, they practice it repetitively every week with a real examiner until the shape is automatic under exam pressure. Because in the exam, you don't have time to build beautiful answers from scratch. You need a shape that you can trust. And that's the Cambridge game. Not fake English, but structured English. Trap number 3 is that you treat part 3 like a normal conversation. This one is sneaky because in real life, conversations are messy, people interrupt, people change topics, people say, oh my gosh, that reminds me. And then suddenly you're talking about your cousin's wedding in 2018. Normal conversation is flexible, but speaking part 3 is not a normal conversation. It's a collaborative task, and that word matters, collaborative. You're being marked on whether you can interact with your partner, not just talk next to them, but interact. And that means you need to show that you can react to their ideas, build on what they say, invite them in, disagree politely, move the task forward, and make a decision when it's time. So look at this not so ideal example. Maybe your partner says, I think offering flexible hours would really help employees. And you say, yes, I think better training is also important because people need to develop their skills. Again, is this English understandable? Yes. Would this get a high C1 mark for interaction? Not really, because you didn't react to the partner. You basically ignored their idea and you moved to your idea. That's not collaboration, but it's two monologues standing next to each other, wearing nice shoes. But look at this better answer. Imagine your partner says, I think offering flexible hours would really help employees. And you say, yes, I see what you mean. It would definitely help people who are juggling a long commute or family. I'd also say better training could make a difference, especially for anyone hoping to move into a more senior role. What do you think? Now we have interaction. You reacted, you built on their idea, you added your point, and you invited them back into the conversation. And this is what Cambridge wants to hear. And the reason that phrases matter here is not because Cambridge wants memorized phrases. They don't. But the phrases are there to help you make the interaction visible. So if you say, I see what you mean, building on that, what's your take on this? Shall we move on? I agree up to a point, but the examiner can hear you managing the conversation, and that is a skill. So later, if you want help with this, click on the link below this video and I'll send you my free C1 Advanced speaking phrase list, which gives you phrases for parts 1, 2, 3, and 4, specifically for the Cambridge C1 Advanced. It's been downloaded by more than 25,000 people already, so I have no doubt it's going to help you. Don't memorize all the answers, please don't, but pick a few, practice them out loud, make them automatic, and that's how they help. So here's the real talk. If your English is advanced, that's brilliant. That gives you a very strong base. But Cambridge C1 Advanced isn't only asking, can this person speak English? It's asking, can this person use English clearly and effectively in these specific exam tasks? That's different. And this is the part that candidates need to accept. You're not above exam strategy because your English is good. In fact, the better your English, the more frustrating it can feel when the exam still doesn't go your way because you think, but I know English. Yes, but do you know the exam? That's the question. Do you know that part 2 is about comparing and contrasting, not describing? Do you know that part 3 is about interacting, not taking turns with separate monologues? Do you know how to develop a part 4 answer without rambling? Do you know how to show range without forcing awkward advanced phrases? And that's exactly why. And when someone joins my program, the very first thing they do is a full C1 advanced exam. Not a quick quiz, the real thing, all the papers, because that shows me precisely where you are losing marks. And then we build your 6-month study plan around your specific weaknesses. It's not a one-size-fits-all course where everyone does the same thing in the same order. If your speaking is strong, but your use of English is dragging you down, your plan looks completely different from someone whose writing doesn't answer the task. And that's the Cambridge game. And once you learn the game, your English can finally do its job. So if you take one thing from this video, let it be this. Fluent doesn't automatically mean exam ready. Advanced doesn't automatically mean Cambridge ready. And even native-like English doesn't guarantee that your answer is doing what the task asks. You need English, yes, but you also need strategy. You need to learn the rules of the game. So this week, I want you to choose one part of the speaking test, part 1, 2, 3, or 4, record yourself with your phone answering one question, listen to it. It's going to feel a bit uncomfortable, but you should really do it. And then ask yourself, did I answer the question? Did I structure my answer? Did I compare if it was part 2? Did I interact if it was part 3? And did I finish cleanly? And this is how you start turning your English into exam performance. And if you want my free C1 Advanced speaking phrase list, just click on the link below this video. It gives you useful phrases for the exact skills we talked about today: comparing, speculating, reacting, agreeing, disagreeing, moving the conversation forward. And if you want the full speaking system with weekly live classes with a real Cambridge speaking examiner, 2 Cambridge speaking examiners, in fact, strategy for all parts of the exam, and a personalized 6-month plan built around your weaknesses, come and see what's inside my C1 Advanced Exam Success Program. So if you're preparing for C1, subscribe, because I'm here to help you stop guessing and prepare properly. And remember, your future English starts with what you do today.